Hey peeps, it's Jedd here from Disrupt Tutoring, and as always, it's such a pleasure to join you. Today we're going to deal with some parabolas, and with that in mind, let's dive straight in. Now, in a previous question, we've already solved 6.1 and 6.2, but today, in this video, we're going to look at 6.3 and 6.4. So let's start with 6.3. What have they asked us for? They've said to us, calculate the length of BD. So if we look at BD, what is special about B and D? So if we look at B, we can see that B is clearly the point at which F cuts the x-axis. So this is an x-intercept. And if we look at D, we can see that's clearly the point where G crosses the x-axis. So it's an x-intercept on the curve G of x. Right, so now we need to try and figure out the horizontal distance between the two. In order for us to do that, we need to find the x point here and the x point there, and then we add the two together, the two distances together, and we will find the overall distance. Right, so let's get straight into that. Starting with f of x, let's find the x-intercept. Okay, so to find the x-intercept, we say, to find the x-intercept, let y equal 0. And we're going to place the 0 in, we're going to put a 0 in place of the f of x, and that's going to then be 1 over 2x squared minus 8. We're going to move the 8 to the other side. 1 over 2x squared. We're going to times both sides by 2, so that's going to give us 16 equals x. And then x squared, apologies. And once we're there, we're going to square root both sides, which is going to give us plus or minus 4 equals x. Why does it make sense that we get to an answer with two possible x solutions? It makes sense because we can see that this curve cuts the x-axis twice. What's also impressive is because y is the axis of symmetry, it makes sense that the distance between the two is the same. So we've got 1 minus 4 and we've got 1 at 4. So we are interested in finding b. So we know that b is to the left of the y-axis, which would mean therefore that b's coordinate is going to be -4, 0. Okay, so -4, 0 is b, and we're halfway there. Now we need to find d. So in order to find d, we're going to look at our g of x curve. So we're going to write g of x. And in order to find the x-intercept, we are going to let y equal 0. And I'm going to do it to the right just to give myself some space. So we have been given the g of x curve over there. So it's going to equal 0 is equal to x negative x squared, apologies, let me rewrite that neatly. So it's going to be negative x squared plus 4x plus 5. Right, and now we see this is a quadratic equation again, which we expect because we expect to find two possible answers. Right, in order to do this, we need to factorize. Before we can factorize, I want to get rid of that negative. So I'm going to times both sides by -1, so it stays 0 on the left-hand side, and then all of my signs change on the right-hand side. Once we are there, we can do our factorization, so we open up our two brackets. Right, we know that the brackets are going to have a plus and a minus, the reason being this second sign is a negative. We know that there's going to be an x and an x in the front of the brackets because we don't have a coefficient over there. And we know now that we need to find two numbers that multiply to 5 and subtract to 4, which is going to be 5 and 1. And the bigger number goes to where the minus is. So it's going to be -5 and +1. I'm going to finish it off over there. So that therefore means that x equals either -1 or x equals 5. Which is the one we're worried about? Well, we want to find D. So we're interested in point D, which is to the right of the y-axis. So therefore, D must be the point we're worried about. So therefore, D is equal to 5 and 0. Now we've got enough information to work out the distance between the two. So I'm going to write these on just for now. So we got -4 there and we've got 5 there. So starting at 4, we walk 4 points to 0. So it's 4 points to 0 and then 5 points to there, or 5 movements or steps to D. And 4 plus 5 gives us 9. So therefore, the distance of DB or BD is equal to 9 units. And that would be the answer to that question. Really good job. Well deserved. Some good marks there. Feel free to fast forward. I'm going to erase this first question so that I've got some space for the second one. Right, I should be done pretty quickly. We're almost there. We're almost there. All right, great. Move on to the next one. So in the next one, you're going to typically see questions like this. They've said to use the graphs to solve for x if. So in 6.4.1, what have they asked us for there? They've said to us, what values of x would there be if f of x was greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0? So what are they saying to us? Let's have a look at the curve f of x. So the curve f of x is this one. And they're asking us for where f of x or where y is greater than or equal to 0. And we can see that is clearly in this portion over there and in that portion over there. Now remember, in our previous question, we calculated the x-intercepts. So the one is 4 and the other one is minus 4. Let me just rewrite that 4 so it looks like a 4. So that means our answer here is going to be all of the x's going that way because this line carries on upwards, so it's always positive above. And all of the x's going that way will be where f of x is greater than 0 or equal to 0. Okay, so our answer in this case is going to be x is either less than or equal to minus 4 or x is greater than or equal to 4. And that will get you your 2 marks for that question. Now moving on to 6.4.2. So let me write 6.4.2 down. They've said to us f and g are both strictly increasing. So I'm going to erase what I've just done here. Now let's try and identify where the two curves are strictly increasing. So let's look at the f curve first. Now can you see this is a downward slope? So that entire section is decreasing, but it starts increasing over there. Okay, then let's change our color pen and let's look at g of x. So we can see that g of x increases all the way up until that point, and then it starts decreasing. So you can see that the intersection where the two of them, because they've said f and g are both strictly increasing, it would be from this point to this point. You can see the two curves are strictly increasing. So that would be between 0 and 2. So those would be the x points on this particular question. So in this question, it would be 0 is less than or is less than x, which is less than 2. Why can it not be equal to? Because they've said strictly increasing. So if we look at 0, at the point 0, we can see that f is 0. Okay, so, sorry, f is at a turning point, so therefore it's neither increasing nor decreasing. And if we look at g, we can see the same thing. It's neither increasing nor decreasing. So that's why we cannot have a equal to. And it can only be between 0 and 2. And hopefully that helps you out. A very special thank you to our sponsors for making this video possible. Remember, you can read all about them in the description below. Also, if you're keen on more videos like this one, visit our website. And if you can't find the video that answers your question, send us the question and we'll respond with a personalized video just for you. Until the next time, stay epic.